Welcome to Roxy Music. Life is a gigging musician. Today we are joined by a special guest, Spencer Mitchell, out of Indianapolis, Indiana, with the Naptown Hepcats, founder of that. Brian Setzer kind of cover band started.
Yeah.
Recently did a recording project, so we are excited to have him here. So stay tuned as we talk about the successes and failures of being a gigging musician. All right, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. If you could do us a favor and click like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for everybody. We've hit a whopping, as of this video, 145 subscribers. So we're pushing for 200.
Right on.
Yeah,
right
going
on.
big time on that. So, hey, but today we're joined with Spencer and Nate here are joining us. Now, something special. Nate is a major gigging musician in the area. I'm not so much, so I'm excited to sit in and listen to this conversation. But this is Spencer. Spencer, tell us a little bit of your background in music in particular.
Yeah, so I started off kind of doing the worship leader thing with some different groups in high school, Campus Life, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and from there started writing and performing as a singer-songwriter kind of deal.
Were you playing guitar?
Yeah, guitar and singing, yeah. Didn't care for the band life because it was just too hard to coordinate 3 or more people to be regular at rehearsals and show up when we needed to. So I always just kind of did the singer-songwriter thing on my own. And then I bought a Gretsch guitar.
Oh, fell in love with the Gretsch.
I bought the Gretsch guitar.
Which Gretsch did you buy?
Yeah, did you go right to the huge body?
I did. My first Gretsch was a 6120 that looked exactly like Brian Setzer's.
Okay.
So being a big Stray Cats fan, I thought, I gotta start playing some Stray Cats songs with this big old Gretsch.
So were you a Stray Cats fan before?
Yeah.
Okay,
I've been a Stray Cats fan since the early 80s. And so once I started playing the songs, I thought, this is a lot of fun. I need to ask some people to join me. So I had a friend who I played with in church who played drums. He was able to kind of convert over to playing stand-up drums. And
oh yeah, we saw the picture of that.
I was watching some of your videos.
Yep.
I was so excited.
So that's fun. And then I had a friend who played bass in church who played upright, mostly jazz, but I got him to at least convert over enough to do one concert.
Oh, okay.
And I got the itch to want to continue from that one concert. Lost the bass player, replaced him. So long story short, Naptown Hepcats is on its 4th iteration of musicians, but I've got some keepers now.
Yeah.
So Mike Strauss on bass and Terry Fox on drums. Those guys are going to be with me until they're ready to retire. So
awesome.
We're here to stay now. So yeah, that's kind of how we got going.
The name Naptown Hepcats, where did that come from?
So we play rockabilly. And I wanted a cool kind of 40s, 50s kind of sounding cool name. So Naptown, since we're from Indianapolis, that is the nickname for Indianapolis, which apparently Indianapolis is a 6-syllable word, which wasn't very fun for jazz musicians in the 40s to say. So they condensed it to Nap, the middle syllable of Indianapolis. And they just converted it to Naptown, and I thought that's got a cool sound.
Okay.
And a Hepcat was the 40s and 50s version of a cool guy who was into the hip music at the time and the hip clothes, and that's what a Hepcat was. And I thought Naptown Hepcats, it reflects who we are and it sounds cool. So
it's a great rockabilly name.
It's hard for people to say and remember because those are both words that a lot of people have never heard before. So we've probably been introduced in all the times that we've been playing shows correctly 2 or 3 times. It's usually, Heptown Napcats. And so we get it all over the map, but we're still fun.
So what is your so moving and transitioning from, kind of that church life where everything is in one place, now you have to go out and get gigs.
Yes.
What does that kind of look like for you? Like, where do you start? Are you calling people? Are you How do you go about doing that?
So at first, it's a lot of calling people and doing shows for free. And it's a lot of no's, as you know.
I do know that.
Well, for one thing, you're lucky if you get a no, because when you first start calling people, most of the time you can't get a hold of the people you need to talk to. They won't reply to a email. They won't reply to a phone call. So you have to go in person to a lot of places.
So let's pause here and give a public service announcement. If people are calling in bands and musicians, call them back. Or send them an email or text message.
You can say no.
Please, exactly.
I already don't have the gig. I can keep not having the gig.
Exactly.
It probably doesn't hurt the musician's feelings as much as like wondering.
No is far less frustrating than I have to keep calling this person. But I would definitely say if you live within the vicinity of a place that you know of that hires musicians, go in person. Find out who you need to talk to, come back when they're there, talk to that person in person. You're far more likely to get a no in person than a no reply over the phone.
So do you have a demo? Do you hand out a demo, or how are you getting the word out?
That was a long time ago when I first started in the 90s. That was what you had to do. You had to have a demo cassette tape.
YouTube was huge in the 90s, wasn't it?
Nope. Yep. I remember having a cassette tape and a little pamphlet that I would hand out to people that had the bio. And now it's real easy. Websites are free. YouTube is free. You get your best video on YouTube, and you hand a business card or something with that website on it, and it's far easier to get the music out there. It's not much easier to get a yes or a no, but that's how you got to start. You just have to hit the pavement, go in, talk to people, and do it for free if you have to.
So do you find, go back on, and maybe you could answer this too, Nate. Do you find if you go back, you said you put a concert's worth of material together. You find that is the best place to start, is like make sure that you have a concert's worth of material together that you can perform before you go out?
Not necessarily.
No?
Open mics are a really good place to start, because you can't be told no at those. So, if you've got 15 minutes worth of material that you can go do an open mic, and you think you can impress the owner and get yourself in the door that way, you only need 15 minutes for that. Or find a local group who is a similar style that you can say, hey, can I just do 3 or 4 songs before your set, just to get out there, right?
Okay.
So
especially if you're flying solo, or you're just getting started trying to meet people.
It's a lot easier to do that.
So a lot of this stuff is in business world, they call it networking.
That's right. It's almost all networking.
Yeah. So it's all about. I think it's in business world, it really is who you know. Like I rarely hear the shop talk, do business with somebody. And now I'm buying the shop, I'm meeting people. But when I don't know or don't talk to somebody, I'm not.
You don't have the incentive.
I'm less inclined to do business with that person, and if I have to go through voicemail services, I'm less inclined, So the more personal face-to-face time,
you're going to remember that person.
Going to the shows,
absolutely.
I find that I'm in the church music world. That's what I do, but I get the chance to play in some really cool environments and really cool places doing that. But I find that if I'm not playing, it's as important for me to go up and encourage and congratulate the bands or whoever is on stage or whoever is there, and just say, man, great job, I love your, just to give that feedback. I love that. I built so much relationship for years doing that before I ever got on the stage with those same people, and it just took a lot of years of that.
People remember that. People remember if you've been kind to them, if you've been generous to them. They remember if you haven't as well. So I'd way rather be remembered as, hey, that guy was the guy that came up and said, good job after a show, as opposed to the guy that I went to go talk to after the show and he completely snubbed me. Nobody likes that guy, right? Nobody wants to be that guy. So when you're first starting off, you don't even get that luxury, I can see it if you've been doing it for 40 years and you've built a name for yourself, but even then I don't get it. I don't understand why people have to be that way.
It does.
So it is. It's very relationship.
Nice. It's easy to be kind, right?
Way easier. Way easier to get out of the to lose the green room effect. Like you're not in a trailer, just get out and hang out with people. The crowd's gonna love you way more if you're with the crowd.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? They
Absolutely.
So tell me about you have a family.
Yep.
You work on the side, right?
Yep.
It's not a full-time gig.
Not yet.
Gigging,
Not yet.
That's the dream, probably.
Yes, and I see that coming, but not yet.
How do you balance practicing? I mean, Nate, you're playing with a gazillion bands. I feel like
I play a lot.
And you're teaching lessons, and you're doing. So how do you practice family life, or how do you balance family life, work life, going out and networking with bands, going out and networking with promoters, making those contacts, and playing, and continually coming out with new material. If you're writing, you started writing, and coming out with new material. How do you balance that? Like, what does that look like?
What do you think?
Well, I'm lucky. I'm anxious to hear you talk about it. I'm lucky because I work in the music store, right? So my real job is still doing, the dream all the time. I get to teach upstairs here in the shop, so I have plenty of time to practice too, right? So I'm here to work on that sort of thing. So then when I go home, the time that I spend, working at the home office is following up, making sure I have the schedule straight. Who do I need to talk to? Do I need to work on programming any concert stuff? Like, do we have to get a set list in order? Even just thinking about what to play, or thinking about things to work on, or we have a band practice coming up. I tend to work on that sort of thing at home.
Do you have regular band practices before a set, or do you guys feel like you have the material pretty well nailed?
With one of my bands, we try to have a regular once-a-week practice.
Okay.
But if we miss them, we don't get mad about it because we're pretty regular about it. If we can get 2 or 3 a month, we're pretty happy about that.
And that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, on the side, I do home remodeling and furniture building, but I own my own business. So that in and of itself helps a lot because I can take days off when I need to go to a show.
Both of those gigs kind of have the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah. And you have to take a lot of Fridays off.
Absolutely.
And Thursdays off a lot of times too to go play somewhere. So having my own business and being able to set my own hours helps a ton. You sacrifice a lot, especially in the evenings, because that's when you're going to have your practice. That's when you're going to practice on your own. That's when I write songs. That's when, you do pretty much everything. So it's not as much go out to a movie or whatever after work. It's go home and work on music for a couple of hours and then leave a couple of hours to spend time with family. So, you kind of balance it when it's important to you. You just figure it out. But having your own business helps a lot. So you can create your own hours.
You get scheduling flexibility there.
Yes.
Or you can take on the projects that you can.
Exactly.
Right.
Helps a ton. Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, sure.
So what do you think are the biggest challenges that you have, that you face, trying to gig?
Location.
Well, there are a few. For me, number one was getting started, getting a foot into a door to play, just finding anywhere to play. But then after that, a lot of gigging musicians don't like to talk about how much they charge, what they make. So you kind of have to figure all that out on your own. Okay, I've got this bar that's interested in having me. They want to know what I charge. Well, if I say, $300 for a 2-hour set.
Am I pricing myself out of the gig?
Am I pricing myself out of the gig, or am I not giving myself nearly enough credit? We have kind of moved from the bar scene to more of the festival scene, and doing headlining shows during like the summer concert series in towns and stuff like that. And we definitely, you don't want to underprice that. People think, if you aren't charging what some of these other bands are charging, then you're not the value that you should be, and you must not be good enough. And for me, that was a big challenge, was even just trying to figure out what rate we should even be charging.
Do you remember the point where you said, okay, we're going to go from free to charging?
Yep.
At what point? At what point
Yep.
did you make that decision?
So we always were charging, but we started off real low, $300 to $600 for an hour and a half to 2 hour show. And then when we started booking kind of the festival scenes and stuff, I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to charge now. And it was a significant jump in pricing. And I thought to myself, this could be what breaks us or this could be what makes us, because I'm finally going to put the value on this group that I know that we offer. And it worked out. I was like, yes, people see that value and they agree, thank God. But that was very scary, but that's what I can say is definitely know what you know you're worth, and don't be afraid to let other people know what that value is. And they'll see it if it's there. So.
But then you have to deliver.
You do.
I think you have to deliver.
You do, and that's where all those evenings that you've sacrificed going to a movie or whatever to practice comes in.
I've been on the other side where I've done the promoting part of it, right? And I've worked with bands, and I've paid, thousands and thousands for bands to come in, and do different things, and I've walked away with like, that wasn't worth my money. You know what I mean?
Well,
I've walked away, and most of it has never been about the performance. Let me just make that point. I have spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars promoting things, and most of the time that I walk away with a band that I don't want to ever work with again has never had anything to do with the performance.
It's not because they played bad notes.
Yeah.
It's not because the performance was bad. It's not because they didn't deliver on stage. It's because I didn't like working with them.
Yeah.
I just didn't like them as people.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm not paying that money again.
Makes
I think
big
music's supposed to be
difference.
fun.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If you're there and ever dealing with bad
I think
attitudes.
I think the big deal is we're all working together. It's kind of this thing where it's the promoters working together, but they need the band. Well, the band needs the promoter, or needs the person, because it's not a free gig. You're getting paid, but somebody's doing the work so that you can get up there. And to realize that we all kind of work together in that type of a thing.
It's a common theme, people. Be nice.
Be appreciative of each other.
Nice.
Some of my favorites that I've worked with over and over and over again, man, they remember the volunteers that work there and come up and introduce themselves and just are super kind. So
that's very important.
So I'm going to do real quick. We're going to pause because I'm going to go check the time on the camera, because I don't have a crew here watching.
Yeah, what happened to our director?
He had food, remember?
We got to do something to make fun of him.
I want to shift to the actual performance. Like, that's the thing we always dream about. Like, to be honest, that there's nothing like the feeling of getting up on the stage and you lay it out there and the crowd connects with you.
Oh, it's the best.
That is a drug by itself.
Yes.
That is a drug by itself.
It's my favorite thing in the world. I can honestly say it.
You work hard at something. We've all been there. Like, whether it's in a church worship service where you and the congregation of the church are connecting, or whether you're on stage doing a rock show, and you're connecting, or you're at a festival and it's like something just grabbed and you're connecting. Man, there's nothing like that. Tell me real quick some of your most memorable gigs, like whether it's good or bad. Like you have one that stands out to you, like, oh, that was awesome, or that sucked. We don't have to call people by name, but I'm not afraid to.
I think too. I said monumental to me, or being a kid, or with one of my bands, Midwest Hype. We sat there all winter and decided we were going to do a spring break tour, but that's all we did was just start calling bars in Florida in the spring break towns for months and months and months, and we got, out of 1,000 phone calls, like 4 gigs, and we're like, all right, we're going. We'll rent a U-Haul and do that. But like you said, that's more the experience of doing it and going on vacation with my friends. And that was a seminal moment in my mind where we realized that we could do that, put in that work and get the job done and play with original music or writing tunes and being able to play that stuff. That's a moment where it seemed like actually feasible to do that in my life. So that's a memorable performance one, doing those first tours. The first time at the House of Blues in Chicago was a sold-out show where we opened for a Sublime tribute band or something like that. And I was just never forget that, 2,000 people, right, and like you said, on the rail looking up at you or whatever, was an overwhelming feeling. And I'll never forget, to go to the other side of the coin, I was playing and I had the Boss bass effects processor on the floor, and I was standing in the front, and I just started walking backwards, and I forgot that I was there. I fell right on my butt on the stage, in front of 2,000 people. And then now, and that's also one of my favorite stories too, because it's like, that was this huge moment in my life, and I did the most embarrassing thing that you could. It was just like, I don't know, besides my pants falling down or something like that. What would it be worse than that? But
I have one that's worse. I'll tell you.
I still had to get up and finish the song. Still have to play. And there's a great quote that I don't know why I say it all the time, but it's part of the show now, right? Like, so your guitar just fell, your strap broke. Are you going to cry about it, or are you like?
And it's going to be there forever because somebody recorded that. Every single person in that crowd now has a camera, and at least 5% of them are recording the whole show at some point in time. So somebody's got it. Yeah. But you can never know. You can never know what's going to be a good show or a bad show just by showing up. We went to this seedy little bar in Indianapolis to play, and it was a dive. And it didn't hold more than 50, 60 people. And I thought, this is going to suck. And that place filled up. I mean, shoulder to shoulder. And we played one of our best shows that night because that crowd was just so into it. Every song they loved. And they gave us feedback. And it was so energetic and fun to play. And on the flip side, we got to play on this huge, beautiful stage. With the lights and the PAs and the backdrop with the screens behind us, and there were storms that were blowing through that day. It was this outdoor stage, and we had maybe 25 people there, and it's all outdoors, so those 25 people are like a mile away, sitting underneath of umbrellas, and they're not really into it. And we thought this is going to be the greatest show ever. We get to play on this big professional stage. Turned out to be not nearly as much fun as that little place because the crowd giving you that energy really makes a big difference. You know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But before I even say anything else, though, I want to tell you the story.
Oh, yeah.
That might make you feel better. This was during my singer-songwriter acoustic phase, so I was by myself on this stage in Michigan City, actually. And I'm playing some blues number on my acoustic, and I broke the nut. For those of you who aren't guitar people, the nut is the little thing at the top of the neck that the strings pass through. I broke the nut at the G string, and not even thinking before I spoke, I said, "Oh my gosh, I just busted my nut on my G string." That is a true story. I still own that guitar, and you can see where I glue the nut back together at the G string. And everybody started laughing at me, and I thought, this is miserable. I just busted my nut. And everybody's laughing at me.
And we're not editing that out.
I was by myself. I had nowhere else to go. It was my only guitar.
Why are these people so mean?
That was the end of the show.
Okay. All right. To make things worse and maybe put me in lawsuit territory here, one time, I'm leading worship at church, and I broke my G string. I was like, oh man, I just broke my G string. And that was at church. And the crowd interaction was palpable in a church worship service. What made it worse was I got a gift of a G string from somebody from our church later on. I was like, oh, this can't be happening to me.
This is weird.
This is weird.
Who
It's right on the line.
responsible for creating the G string for the guitar? Just not cool.
They should have picked a different
couldn't it be
letter.
F sharp? Or G sharp?
Right.
Just make that one be R.
Yeah.
Or something. You know?
Something better.
Oh man, that's terrible. That's terrible. So both of you are into songwriting a little bit, right? You dabble in it?
I don't do a lot of songwriting. I always tell myself that I'm going to do more. And I'm always so, like, terrified of, like, my own ideas of, honestly, the words. Like, I love writing music and I love working on music with people and arranging other people's music or helping them codify it in whatever way I can and stuff like that. So how old were you when you started like writing your own songs?
So
playing guitar?
I received my first guitar when I was like 5, and it was just one of those little toy, cheap plastic pieces of junk. So I didn't actually start playing guitar until I was 15, when I was asked to lead worship for Fellowship of Christian Athletes here. I learned how to play all the chords literally in a couple of hours, enough to be able to lead worship. And I think about a week later I wrote my first song, because I thought that's just what you did. If you were a musician, you wrote songs, and it kind of came easy to me. So all through high school and college, I probably wrote 100 to 200 songs, and 90% of them weren't worth anything, but there were some decent ones. And
Is there anything from that era that you like still play regularly?
not with my band, but there are some. If I get the acoustic guitar out, they're decent enough. One of them I wrote called Fairy Tale Love. I actually entered in the Nashville International Singer-Songwriters Competition and placed. Didn't win, but I placed.
Right.
So I figured that one might be okay. But yeah, it's not really the style that we do with the Hepcats.
So that kind of stuff that you were writing then doesn't necessarily translate to rockabilly?
Not really, no. So I write separately for that group, and our drummer writes as well. So between the two of us, we've got almost a full album's worth of songs.
Excellent.
So we recorded with the fabulous Ken Grace here.
Yeah,
we
I
got
didn't
3
hear
of those
some
songs.
recording
Yeah, so I
stories.
mean, that's kind of
So-
where so one of the cool things, like I actually grew up with Spencer, and I grew up here in LaPorte, and so we went to high school together, and so it kind of goes way back. We didn't hang around a whole lot back then, but the relationship goes all the way back then, and then seeing him. But recently, a year ago, actually, we were, as we're filming this, we just celebrated 1 year. Opening the shop here at Roxy, so we just kind of crossed that finish line. So whenever you see this video, that's going to be past for sure. But it was a year ago that somewhere in that time frame that we were in this secretive talks of purchasing Roxy, and they were in the studio. Your band was in my little humble basement studio.
I remember one of the first things you said when we got there is, "I got something I really want to tell you, but I can't." I was like, "Well,
so cool.
that stinks."
Great story, Ken.
Yeah, but we got into the basement, and I have it's a small little studio. Actually, it's moving here, but it was such a fun time. So talk to me a little bit about that process, because some people want to move from playing to recording and making their stuff, whether it's Spotify. When we were starting out, and you're probably old enough to remember this too, we didn't have access like you have now to publishing and recording. I mean, the simple fact that you can release something in your bedroom that's as good as anything that they were doing.
Gosh, it's incredible.
In that day, and you could put it on YouTube, and in 2 days you could be a YouTube sensation if you hit the right thing. I mean, wow. I mean, holy smokes. A little sad that the music industry has kind of erupted from it, so it's I think, harder for musicians to make a living, because that's kind of gone. But it's so accessible for us to find killer new musicians.
Oh,
but
it's great.
Talk to me about the process. Tell us about the process going, because it was a fun time. I mean, it's the first time I got to meet your band.
Loved it. We had such a great time. Obviously, it was the first time we'd been to the studio cohesively as that group. I think we'd all been to the studio with different groups, but that was our first time. For me, the studio is nerve-wracking. I am a performer, an entertainer. I love to get up on stage and just go. when I'm in the studio, I'm very self-conscious about every single thing that I do, everything I play, because I want it to be perfect for the recording.
It's there forever.
Right. The longevity is so much different. So because I get more nervous, I think I make a lot more mistakes as I'm performing. But, you know, when you have a sound engineer who makes things more fun, is good to work with, it helps a lot. So you made the process a lot easier for us, I think.
I think one of the cool things that we made a decision on, because we were trying to set up to run with click tracks, to be able to do all kinds of things. We were setting up to do the high production value, and realized really quick, this is a live band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
These guys are used to playing live.
So did you record it all playing at the same time, or did you?
We went live.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we went live. We had to come back and overdub a few things, but we went live, and I think and we didn't even really care too much about the minute mistakes.
No, they're in there. You can hear them when you know what to listen to.
There were a couple of them that were like, pretty major that we had to go in and polish up, but as a live band, it just made it so much more fun. I was like,
I agree.
It was like, man, we were just, I got to sit and listen to these guys, come together as a band and make something that sounded pretty fun. It was interesting to try to keep tempos locked in.
For sure.
You're just going for it.
Yeah.
Well, in one song even, we kind of had to do it live because we increased the tempo on purpose every time we played through it.
The Beaumont Bragg.
Yeah,
that one. Yeah, because it just keeps coming around and going a little faster.
Yeah. A lot faster.
By the end, you're screaming.
Each time it picks up pretty significantly.
That seems so much more organic to me, too.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate listening to albums like that maybe lack that polish, but you can capture so many more heartfelt performance moments.
Right. When I first started, I really used to just love the high production value. And now I like just grabbing a great band and just recording a great band that's a great band. If I get the great band, then we can do the high production value. How cool is that? That's like the best of both worlds.
For sure.
But you guys have the upright bass.
Yes.
In a room with a drum set.
Yes.
So you're miking an upright bass, you're miking a drum set,
Yes.
and then you've got this beautiful vintage, extremely loud Fender Bassman that's buzzing like crazy in there with a man.
Did you do headphone monitoring, or are you just playing to the sound of your amps?
Yeah, we did headphone monitoring because the amp was in a enclosed room.
Did you send the amp to Bangladesh?
The amp was definitely locked into a different room.
I'm sure his wife was just like, "Oh, I can't wait for these guys to be done."
That old gear, because you're a big vintage instrument guy.
Yes.
You love vintage stuff.
Yes,
and
I do.
It sounds awesome, but man, is it noisy!
It is so noisy,
especially when you got that tape machine going in there. And you just hear.
Yes, and when you listen to the recording of, I'm pretty sure it's Hotter Than Texas.
Hotter Than Texas, yeah.
At the beginning of that, you hear a second or two of
it's awesome, man.
But it's what makes that. It's what makes it what it is. It sounds good.
Well, this has been such a great conversation. Real quick though, before we get down and say where they can find you, if there's some aspiring musicians coming up, what would you, if you could give them two things, go do this today, what would you say? You think, and I might have you think about it for a minute, but you got some young guys that are like, man, I want to start playing, I want to start touring, I want to start doing whatever. What? 2, maybe 3 things, maybe 1 thing, whatever comes to your mind for that.
Definitely start performing wherever you can and whenever you can, as often as you can.
Don't worry about being perfect, just go do it.
Well, no, just go do it. Go to open mics. If your local music store has a jam night, go to it. Don't be afraid that you're not good enough to keep up. You will learn a ton from people who are better than you. Most musicians who are secure in their playing aren't going to belittle you. They're going to encourage you. They're going to help you. There's always going to be a couple of jerks that are going to act like they're too good to hang with you, but most jam sessions and stuff like that, the people are going to be so encouraging and helpful. You're going to learn a lot. Just get out there, play wherever and whenever you can. Don't worry about a video having the best production value. Set up your phone on a tripod, play a song or two, take the best take that you have of that, and have that to be able to show people what you can play. But just get out there and as much as you can do it. That's for me.
I agree. If performance is your goal, go perform. There's nothing stopping you.
Yes.
And I think adding on that, like for me, be teachable. You know, it's like you don't have to go prove yourself, go learn. Like when you're with these musicians that are, be teachable. Like you're learning how they're wrapping cables, right?
Yeah.
Protect the gear, like protect their gear, learn how to perform. Like just every moment be teachable. Like things that you love to do. So
don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't have the attitude that I already know this, or I want people to think I already know this, so I'm going to be afraid to ask.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
It's huge.
I see
yes.
I notice. I have students all the time that sometimes I think are afraid to ask.
Yeah.
I remind them constantly. I say the same things all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I went over something and you didn't understand it, just say what you say. That's advice I give to people all the time. Is as musicians, our ears are our most important tool. It's how we learn. If somebody's giving us instructions, even besides that, and then it's how we learn what we like. Mm-hmm. Right. So if you're trying to emulate something, or if you're trying to create something, deciding what you like or dislike is so valuable, and that starts with how you're taking it in, how you're listening to it. So I always tell people, use your ears. Listen to the stuff you don't like, so you can find out why you don't like it or what you want to avoid.
Yeah.
If you only listen to the things you like, you're missing half the picture.
Yeah,
that's a quote that I like.
Oh, that's a great. I love that. All right, real quick, where can we find you?
NaptownHepcats.com. NaptownHepcats, all one word, .com. That give you access to all our social medias. That's got our tour dates. That's got photos, all the stuff you need to know. So that's the best way. Or you can just Google Naptown Hepcats and a whole bunch of stuff will come up. So easy to find us.
Earlier today. It works.
Thank you. It does work.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can confirm. What you got? Anything exciting coming up that you're excited about?
Oh, we've got a bunch of shows that I'm really looking forward to. We're playing a few different festivals. New to us this year, we're doing Noblesville Porch Fest, which is so cool. Just Old Town Noblesville, old historic homes. They block off like a mile of one of the historic streets, and there's just bands playing on people's porches all over the place.
That's
so
cool.
Much fun.
Yeah, wow.
Total, it's not big rock star arena, but it's total fun. The streets just completely crowded. People are just having a good time.
People walk around and go house
yes.
and
Oh,
stuff.
it's so much fun.
Kind of like a town party or
yes.
something like that.
So we're really looking forward to doing that this year. Finishing the album, we're going to finish recording that, so hopefully this time next year the album will be done and out. We're working on getting into Viva Las Vegas. So yeah, there's just fun, exciting stuff coming up. So check the website for tour dates, and hopefully we'll be near you at some point in time.
Awesome. Well, just real quick, favorite song to perform live?
Oh boy. It's one of our originals now, actually, called Little Goth Girl, that I wrote recently. That I just love this song.
All right, go look that up.
It's
Favorite
so much
song
fun
to
to play.
perform live?
Favorite song to perform live. This past weekend, what did I have a really good time playing? Oh boy, I'm drawing a blank.
It's got to be rapid fire.
Yeah, okay. So just off the top of my head, we've been doing 9 to 5, Dolly Parton.
Oh yeah.
We've been doing that one. It's been a lot of fun.
Excellent.
Awesome. All right, rapid fire. Biggest musical influence?
Oh, Brian Setzer and Phil Kagi and Rich Mullins.
Okay, yeah, awesome. Biggest musical influence?
Kenny Dorham, trumpet player. Victor Wooten. That's the two that popped in my head right now.
Pretty legendary. All right, yeah, awesome. Okay, rapid fire. Dream collaboration, if you could work with anybody.
Oh boy. Probably Setzer. Yeah,
All
Brian
right,
Setzer. Yeah.
I would pick Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's a trumpet player too. I feel like we could do trumpet and bass at the same time. It'd be like,
Okay, because we all know David's answer on this from behind the scene, but your favorite guilty pleasure music that you listen to when no one's around?
Bee Gees.
The Bee Gees. All right, there we go.
I'm not guilty about that. I listen to the Bee Gees all the time. That song "Tragedy."
Oh yeah, so good.
But I love the radio station is 105.1. It's called La Banda. It's like the Hispanic music, but it's got a lot of that like tuba bass and tons of brass instruments, and they use that crazy vibrato. I don't know what the songs are about, but it's super exciting, like high energy brass music. I get pumped up when it comes on, and people look at me like, "What is wrong with this guy?"
So we were just recording our video, and the camera overheated. As we were saying goodbye, David ran to grab a new card, but we thought this would be better. Hey, thanks for joining us. Visit next time. We'll see you next time. Spencer, thanks for making the trip up here to talk to us. We will talk to you later.